to another episode of Mindful Drawing. Today we'll focus on an exercise that you can do while preparing for the stress and anticipation of travel. We're heading out on a plane later today, and it always brings me a bit of anxiety around the time arriving in places where you lose a little bit of your agency and control, dealing with the process of moving through security and such, and then switching time zones and readjusting to a new place. I find it can be very helpful to kind of look to the sky, and this morning we had a beautiful set of lenticular clouds, and also while you're on the plane, to stare out the window and see new worlds unrolling beneath you, and the landscapes that move to fly through the atmosphere. And so I think we'll look into this as an inspiration for just letting things flow out into this paper and create our own topography of rolling cloudscapes, whether from below or from above. Come along and join me as we draw together. Do a little bit of warm-up. I'm getting on a plane later today. It's been a long time. Never liked this before. I don't know if I like it now. Not flying, but the showing up at the airport on time. I get there way too early. Just gives me a lot of anxiety. But this morning when I was looking out the window, woke up a little early because the cat was having a good time, and the sun was just coming up, and the clouds were like super interesting, lenticular, like filling the sky with the sunrise, and thought that might be a good general inspiration when you're looking up at them or looking out at them from a plane for some of the larger drawing today. I thought to warm up, maybe just a little practice of kind of like some long, smooth strokes across a little piece of paper somewhere, just to let the arm move lightly back and forth for a little while to warm up. Feel the engagement of the whole arm going a bit quick here, just to let it kind of enter into the movement, just back and forth of both the arm, maybe a little of my torso, the wrist. Starts to get some blood flow, a little attention if you feel anything that's tight or creaky. Got a lot of creakiness in this wrist. Feel the mouse and typing and things. And so just a little movement to feel those pops and snaps and let it ease into a place where we can draw. And as I'm going back and forth a few times, stretching our spine in the back, rolling the shoulders a little, and then coming back across those same series of strokes, just with a bit of slowness to get back some control of the movement of the arm across the little area of a piece of paper, moving left to right and right to left. Oiled up the joints a little, bringing that attention to the fingertips, to the way you're holding the pen or pencil, how it feels in the hand, making slight adjustments. It's fighting against you a little against the page, perhaps. It just feels scratchy. Maybe you're going both directions. It's introducing some discomfort to the motion, finding the direction that feels the most smooth, kind of relaxing or engaging. Here, for me, probably because of the way I'm sitting, the left to right is a lot smoother. I have to do a lot more twerking for the right to left. Can't really see what I'm doing. It's a chance to feel how left-handed people have to write all the time. But finding the one that feels nice to you and giving it just a few more repetitions, trying to bring some attention to the general accuracy or consistency of the stroke. You can still see difference here on the page. Just trying to bring mine a little more horizontal, do a series of strokes. Work my way down the page one more time. Maybe align the last few with the breath, just to ease into the space of this drawing exercise. I'll really let time slow down a bit at the end. It can be both warm and supple. Our wrists, fingers, and our attention, our emotion. And when you feel ready, you can transition to a new page or a new sheet of paper, or just keep going on the same. I think I'm going to use the clouds I saw this morning, looking up as an inspiration. If you have that experience in an airplane of looking out over the world of vapor, just kind of maybe closing the eyes and letting a little bit of the pen flow from one side of the page to the other, tracing some of the contours or edges that you might see there. And if it feels more comfortable to open the eyes, feel free. For the first few marks, just going to trace along what I see with my eyes closed. Maybe using the eyes to reposition on the page. Just letting that slow movement over maybe the bumpy, voluminous clouds or the flat, rolling topography. Looking up at our atmosphere, or perhaps floating within it. As I have gotten a bit of curve and definition onto the page, you come back and just begin to layer lines right next to the previous, sometimes letting it wobble and merge, perhaps occasionally introducing new roles and connections. As I bring that picture inside my mind to the page, just one flowing contour at a time. Maybe one of the things that captured me the most this morning about the clouds, and often in the overlook out the plane, is when they have tight jumps, dips, shadow. Maybe the lines rumble a little from each other. And if they cross, it's okay, it brings them tighter together. And moves past, and we can build upon that tightness. Just layering a topography of the volumes, pinch together to make rolls that vanish behind the surface, spread out, see, have shallow dips in the underside of the landscape of the sky. And as I approach previous marks, feathering them together, using the gradual shift over the page to blend them, repeat them, perhaps intensify, let them unravel together. I'm just working way down, up the page. Seeing that initial image of a cloud landscape may have started, and as we ease into the repetition of the strokes, bringing back into the visual forefront of the imagination, and seeing where you might introduce some play, recognizing that There is no photograph of that complex fluid dynamic system. There is a moment that we see. It's always in flux, even if it's moving very slowly. And so we have that space to create, to be flexible around an image we might recall, or an imagined idea we might be working on. That shift and adapt and adjust as we bring that creative attention to it. And all of the acts in its process are a part of the final product. We don't have to push too hard to meet an intention, but to set it and find the little incremental progress steps that bring to it, finding a space in reality through this act of creative expression. And getting a good amount of density of line extending out from the page, maybe a nice rhythm. Just feel my arm sinking into the motion. This being a part of each extension across the page, returning only when it's reached its end. Practicing a letting go, the anticipation of the end. If there's any feeling of correction as you're moving along, perhaps the contours jitter a lot, paper is rough, pen is really silky with ink. And you want to flow around and merge. Just let them do that. To embrace the way the tool is engaging with the body and see where it might go. To let the eyes slowly track in with the motion and the expression on the page. Perhaps begin to connect this motion with a bit of our breathing. Become more autonomous in the motion. To take a breath in and let it out slowly over one. Long contour of the cloud. Taking a few breaths to recalibrate that start and stop. To give yourself some space to breathe. And begin to let that have its influence as there's more expansion and contraction of the body through the breath, being push or pull the pen along the page. And as time adjusts, slows itself to a more relaxed breathing pace, what new sensations arise. Feel my knuckle of my little finger smoothly gliding across the paper, really activating a connection, the texture of this crystal would be kind of slick, a little artificial feeling. and pairing that simultaneously with the felt and ink of the pen, sending its small micro vibrations from the fibers into my index finger, middle finger, as they support the implement, and that very different simultaneous sensation of the smooth, kind of silky, to rough, slightly resistive, bringing that attention really deep inside the action of drawing, the connection, to both know we have some guidance for this pencil or pen, some guidance for what flows out onto the page, but that we're not the only agent in this. The tools that we've created to like, purchase, also guide our expression. And the more we enter into those, connect with them, the more they can work with us. Work with our breath, work with our fine motor controls, work to express what we might see within our mind. Reach the end of part of my piece of paper, so I'll just begin again somewhere else where there might be space. Readjust the body, use it as an opportunity to bring that image back in connection with all the activation of the nerves, the hand, and the eye. Something that was particularly catching in the sky this morning was the general flatness of the surface with these puffs and little divots that really felt like the emergence of a drafted topographic landscape, but bathed in rich morning reddish pink glow up here on the east coast, maybe slightly enhanced the atmosphere, the west coast, drifting across the continents, expanding that attention and awareness of local conditions, reach out and are connected to one fluid space in the atmosphere that affects one place, affects us all in some way. It's more vivid and engaging sunsets and sunrises. We can use those to remember that it's also turbulent forces interacting, oiling across the sky. By bringing some attention to those forces, to contemplate and reflect on them, to perhaps draw their various expressions, we can find connection, perhaps respect, even inspiration in them. If you're in a place like me where the speed of the drawing has begun to fill the page with very little room left to add more layers into blank space, it's maybe a good time to take 5 or 10 minutes to see where new space has opened up in the drawing with this canvas. Let's see if we might be able to dive deeper into certain areas that visually attract our attention, have a density that emerges. By continuing the same technique, connection with our breath and our hand, and just layering in more to the expression of the forms, these sequences of curves, perhaps bringing a thickness to those volumes of clouds, wispiness, depending on what you begin to see in your mind. So, spaces of strong convergence, that shadow the sun is pulled deep into the dense collection of vapor and areas of great expanse where the light is free just to coat the surface. This might be a drawing that in another format or a longer exercise would be interesting to bring in a colored medium, perhaps colored pencil, to start to layer in multiple bands of those reds and peach and purples. Just feeling more comfortable for my hand to just kind of let the pen float way out there, a bit like a paintbrush, not searching for detail, just guiding the tip from afar so it responds more to the inconsistencies of my motion or the texture of the paper. Perhaps when it overlaps another line, it gets pushed and pulled just a bit more to have a little more jostle, a little more organic intensity to some of the curves that also I can provide a nice feedback to my mind. So there's more activation of those nerves at the end of the finger with sensation pulling me deeper inward into the drawing, and also helping me let go a little bit of a desire for precision as that becomes more difficult to maintain further from the end of the pen. Find myself with an opportunity to begin to savor the density that's forming on the page. My eyes are reaching a point of saturation where they can barely track some of the difference at this distance from it, and just letting them absorb into that density to really step back for a bit while the drawing continues to flow. Detach myself from the control, be a witness. I'll begin to bring this practice and this exercise to a close by bringing some attention back to the body, either while drawing or separate, just to check the position you find yourself sinking into over the course of longer drawing like that. Stretching the lower back, stretching out the arms and the fingers, Maybe pulsing them just a bit to normalize them back towards each other in that position of symmetry in our body. Flex them a little from side to side. Take a nice deep breath and let it out. Thank you for joining. I hope you're having a wonderful day and that this exploration of your creativity through imagination and just repetition and breathing is allowing you a little peace and a little space to continue to have a wonderful day and enjoy the week. If you liked the video, please subscribe, give it a like, and share it with your friends. Leave a comment down below if there's anything you'd like me to cover. And as always, draw well.